Hi there. I hope that my voice is reaching you somewhere where you are safe in your body and in the areas surrounding you, and that you feel connected today to purpose that is shared with other people and creatures to continue life on this earth and with each other. My name is Grover. Today is Wednesday, May 28th, 2025, and this is Grover Reads the News. My news update today is a little different because I'm being nimble to check challenges. And in this era, I really do believe that being nimble and iterative is what's going to get us through. And so today's recording is a straight recording, unedited, and I won't be able to provide a digest format through the Substack newsletter. It will just be a audio file, just like the podcast gets. So with that, would you like to hear a news update? If so, keep listening. If not, I'll offer again next week. And with that, let's hear some news. First up, there's news about U.S. federal funding policy. The U.S. House passed a budget that would transfer billions of dollars from the lowest income people to the highest income people in the country by cutting Medicaid and other programs that help people live, eat, and learn, while those earning more than $920,000 a year could pay $70,000 less in taxes, reports the Washington Post. The bill increases spending on bombs and cages with expanded funding for military and ICE. Next, the bill goes to the Senate, where there may be edits or changes, and then a vote, and then on to the president. If you live in a state that has a senator that could go either way, I encourage you to connect with people who are advocating for changes to this bill. Next, we have an update about U.S. immigration practices. Last week, immigration practices and illegal practices by the government, really. Last week, a U.S. citizen holding a real ID, which is the newly verified state IDs that are required in states across the U.S. This person was handcuffed and detained as part of a raid on immigrant workers, reports NBC News, continuing a trend of violating established legal rights of U.S. citizens and permanent residents, and the human and immigrant legal rights of migrants in this country. And the State Department has announced that embassies are to pause new student visa approvals as the federal administration expands its vetting of people's social media posts and continues attempts to repress the free speech of students and universities, and sow fear among immigrants of all classes, races, and backgrounds. Next, we have international news about African migrants to Europe, as well as Israel and Gaza. And I will note that each of these updates includes information about people who died or are killed. The Spanish Emergency Services report that 4 women and 3 girls died after a boat capsized outside the Canary Islands as more than 100 people on a flotation device that wasn't designed for open waters attempted to arrive safely on an island that's legally Europe. More than 1,000 people have died in that crossing as people seek economic stability and physical security in hopes that making a life in Europe will provide it, and often take to the open water on devices that were not designed for it. And last week, an American man killed 2 people who were workers in the Israeli embassy outside of the embassy in Washington, D.C. After killing these people, he walked inside and said that he did it for Palestine and Gaza. And in Gaza this week, Israeli airstrike killed 52 people who were sheltering in a school, and at least one person is dead and 48 injured after Israeli-backed logistics providers fired on Gazans who were desperately trying to collect food aid, reports The Guardian. Oof. I just have to break the wall and just say, I grieve every time I do these updates. I grieve the lives lost, and join so many of you in strongly desiring an end to the violence and murder and unsafe conditions that people are forced into. And so how do we bring it back to our days? Next, I'm going to tell you nature news about ghost woodlands. Beneath the soil of treeless hills in the Yorkshire Dales lies a ghost woodland. Wide expanses of fields on hills that sheep have grazed for hundreds of years. But beneath the soil lies a network of ancient tree roots. The Guardian reports that a rewilding project shared between dozens of ranchers and the government that has been taking place over the last 10 years has spurred an explosion of bluebells and other wildflowers popping up, which researchers say suggests the soils and seed banks retain the memory of being a woodland despite hundreds of years of sheep eating all the material on the surface of the area. Each year, dozens of breeding birds have returned to the area when, before the rewilding project, only 4 species returned in the spring. In the years to come, trees and forests will reestablish, and the ghost woodland will become visible, its next wooded incarnation in its next era. Thank you for joining me to face the news today. I hope that when you see a tree this week, you will remember that every single person needs shelter, and that leaves and greens can provide us so much that we need, and we can provide shelter and sustenance to those we love and to strangers. I hope you join me next week for another update, because we know that we don't have to face the news alone. We can do it together. Until then, be well.